I don't even know where to begin because every time I start replaying it in my head, I end up sinking into this pit of shame and self loathing. I guess the simplest way to say it is that I ruined my marriage over 4 days in Miami. I ruined the man who loved me. I damaged friendships, and I'm not even sure I can look in the mirror without seeing the version of myself I hate the most. But I'll try to tell it exactly how it happened, because maybe if I lay it all out, it will stop playing on repeat in my mind. I'm 36 years old. My husband, Matt, is 38. Or I guess I should say, was my husband, because that's not who he is anymore. We were together for 14 years, married for 10. No kids, just the two of us and our two dogs. We had a good life by most people's standards. A nice home in a quiet neighborhood, stable jobs, friends we saw on weekends, small vacations here and there. It wasn't exciting, but it was comfortable. I used to think that comfort was all I wanted, until somewhere along the way I started feeling like I was just existing. Wake up, work, make dinner, watch something, go to bed, over and over again. Matt's a good man. That's what makes all of this worse. He's steady, dependable, thoughtful, and the kind of person who would do anything for the people he loves. But I let myself get restless. I started wanting something that made me feel alive again, and instead of working through it with him, I let my mind wander. I didn't realize how far gone I was until my best friend Rachel suggested a girls' trip to Miami for her birthday. Just a few days. Beach, cocktails, dancing, no responsibilities. I was excited immediately. I told Matt that night, expecting him to smile and say it sounded fun. But his face changed instantly. He didn't yell or forbid me from going, but I could tell he didn't like the idea. He said, "Miami isn't exactly a married woman's scene. I trust you, but I don't trust the environment. Things happen there, and I'd rather you didn't put yourself in that situation." We argued for days. I told him he was being controlling. He told me he was being realistic. I said I just wanted a break from routine. He said there were better ways to take a break than partying until 3 a.m. with strangers. Eventually, he stopped arguing. He just sighed and said, "You're going to do what you want anyway." I wish I could go back to that moment and hear the pain under those words, because back then, I only heard defiance. I thought I was proving I was independent. In reality, I was planting the seed that would grow into the end of us. Miami was exactly what you'd expect. Warm air that wrapped around you like a blanket. Neon lights reflecting off the wet pavement outside the clubs. Music so loud it rattled your chest. The first night, we stayed out until almost sunrise. Rachel had been talking to some local guys online before the trip, and she invited them to meet us at a rooftop bar. They were charming, funny, and exactly the kind of people who knew how to make a night dangerous in the best way. I flirted without thinking, telling myself it was harmless, just part of the fun. There was one guy in particular, Alex, tall, tan skin, lean muscle, that easy Miami smile that made you feel like you'd known him forever. He bought me a drink, then another, and every time I laughed, he touched my arm like we were sharing some private joke. I should have recognized the danger immediately, but I liked the way it felt. I hadn't been looked at like that in years. The second night was more of the same. Bars, clubs, music, laughter. Alex was there again. He danced with me, close enough that I could feel the heat of him. When I went to the bathroom, I caught myself smiling like a teenager with a crush, and instead of feeling guilty, I felt alive. That's the part that's hardest to admit. By the third night, I was drunker than I should have been. We ended up at a smaller club off the main strip, and at some point, Rachel disappeared with one of the other guys. Alex stayed by my side. When he leaned in and asked if I wanted to go somewhere quieter, I didn't say no. I didn't even think about Matt. I let him take my hand and lead me outside into a cab and to his apartment. I don't remember every detail. Just flashes, the sound of his voice, the smell of his cologne, the way his hands felt against my skin. I told myself in the moment that I deserved this, that I needed to feel wanted, that it was just one night and it would never happen again. In the morning, the guilt started creeping in, but I shoved it down. I showered, went back to the hotel, and didn't tell Rachel. The trip ended, and I flew home, thinking I could compartmentalize it. Matt hugged me when I walked through the door, asked how it went, and said he was glad I was back. I smiled, kissed him, and tried to pretend nothing had happened. But something in me had shifted. I caught myself avoiding eye contact, over-explaining small details about the trip, and feeling my stomach drop every time my phone buzzed. A week later, it all unraveled. I was in the kitchen making dinner when Matt walked in holding my phone. His face was calm, but his eyes looked dead. He said, "Who's Alex?" My heart stopped. He handed me the phone and I saw the message. Alex thanking me for the best night and saying he wished I'd stayed longer. I felt the blood drain from my face. I didn't even try to lie. I just stood there, silent, as Matt stared at me like I was a stranger. Finally, he said, "I told you I didn't trust that environment. And you proved me right." Then he put the phone down and walked out of the room. He slept in the guest room that night. The next morning, he didn't say a word to me. Within 2 weeks, he'd filed for divorce. There was no screaming, no dramatic confrontation. Just a quiet, clean cut, like someone amputating a limb to save the rest of the body. He moved out first, taking one of the dogs and some of his things. His lawyer handled the rest. I stayed in the house for a few months, but it felt haunted. Every room held a memory of us, and every memory reminded me of what I'd destroyed. Friends started pulling away. Some took his side outright. Others tried to stay neutral, but I could see the way they looked at me differently. Rachel still talks to me, but there's distance now. She's careful with her words, careful with me, like I might drag her into another disaster. 6 months later, Matt is thriving. I see him in photos with friends, hiking, smiling, looking younger and lighter than he did when we were together. There's a woman who appears in a lot of those photos. I don't know if she's a girlfriend, but they look happy. Happier than he ever looked with me toward the end. It's like he stepped out of the wreckage and found the sunlight again. I, on the other hand, am living in a one-bedroom apartment with the other dog. I go to work, come home, eat alone, scroll through my phone until I fall asleep. I've tried dating apps, but it's impossible to connect with anyone when you feel like you're carrying a neon sign that says "cheater" above your head. The guilt doesn't fade. It's in the quiet moments. Brushing my teeth at night, grocery shopping for one, walking the dog and realizing I have no one waiting for me at home. People think cheating is just about sex, but it's not. It's about betrayal. It's about choosing a few hours of excitement over the person who's stood by you for years. It's about breaking something sacred that you can never repair. I thought I could handle it, that I could keep it separate from the rest of my life. But once you cross that line, you can't uncross it. You carry it with you, and it changes everything. If you're in a relationship and you feel restless, talk to your partner. Tell them what you need. Go to therapy. Take a trip together. Do anything except what I did. Because the thrill fades, but the consequences stay. I went to Miami thinking it would be harmless fun, a chance to blow off steam. Instead, it became the moment I lost my husband, my marriage, and the version of myself I thought I was. Now I'm left with the truth about who I really am, and I'm not proud of her.